coaching egos. So coaches must remember that it's all about them. It's not about you. Yeah, it's all about the players, and you're just a part of that whole. So I find that in my experience, there are three main reasons for ego to set into a coach's mind. Yeah, the first one is that the coach believes that I made the player. The second one is that the coach thinks very often that he's winning the matches or he or she is winning the matches. And the third one is that the coach feels that since I'm more experienced or I'm more qualified or I've played more in the past, I'm always right. Let's take all of these one by one. Arun, one of the key reasons for ego to creep into a coach's mind is the belief that they are the ones who win matches. What's your take on that? Do coaches win matches or is it the players who do it?
Now, obviously, it is the players who do it. And I can guarantee one thing, no coach makes a player. Okay. The players happen to go through so many coaches. You may add value to a player, but you cannot say and you cannot take credit for having made a player. And also, it is the boys who are performing on the field. You're helping them by strategizing. You're adding value. It's like a teacher saying, "I'm taking credit for a student getting 100 marks." No way. It's the student's hard work. You have helped them to achieve that. You have facilitated them to achieve that. But I think it's the total effort of the players, and that should be highlighted rather than the coach feeling I did it.
Absolutely. Sri, what would you say to a coach who believes that he's winning the matches for his team? Coach who wants to take all the credit and is quick to blame players when the things go wrong.
But it's a good feeling when the team wins a match, and as a coach, you would want to believe that you have made a contribution towards the victory, whether it is a match or whether it is a tournament. So it's a great feeling to have, no doubt about it. That is why we end up as coaches, for that feeling. That is why we work hard day and night. But when you put your head on that pillow that night, and when before you just sleep, you really have to feel that, well, uh, you're not as important as you think. I know you did the job, and it is the players who executed it, and end of the day, it was up to them. Although, if a team doesn't do well, it is the coach who gets the first boot. I would say, but when the team does well, it is always the players who should be given the credit, and rightly so. So, like Arun Paji just said, a coach definitely doesn't make a player or a team. We can definitely contribute to the environment, to the climate. I think it's very, very vital that a good coach contributes to a good climate within the team environment. But surely a coach can contribute to the downfall of the team. So that is what a good coach has to be guarded against. Whether in what way is he contributing to the climate of the team. But again, answering your question on what would I say to a coach who thinks that it is because of him that the team won the match. Well, I think I would tell him, don't take yourself too seriously, mate. Not that important.
Well said, well said. So I think the third part, that the coach thinks they know it all. Yeah. So two outstanding qualities that these type of coaches need to develop. One is intellectual humility, and the second is the art of being vulnerable. Intellectual humility, let's take that. I mean, obviously, coaching science is fairly new. It's just about 30 or 40 years since some research is going on into what works, what doesn't work in coaching. So there's no one right way. Willingness to adapt and accept latest research. There are a lot of coaches who stick blindly to old theories and old practices which work for them, which science has disproved. So Arun, what do you say to coaches who aren't willing to change over a period of time despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary?
I think every day when I step into the field, I learn a lot more from the players
Super.
than I think they learn from me because everyone is so different. yes, the textbooks tell you what to do. It's the kind of the, the example which you give, you know, about doctors and compounders. Yes, knowledge is extremely essential for a coach to excel. Knowledge is very important, and I think we should constantly look to upgrade our knowledge. But then, when you work with players, each one is so different. I think we fail to observe, players are more. So, as a coach, my advice to most coaches would be to observe, think about it, and before you make a change, be convinced that whatever, I wouldn't even call it a change, I would call it adjustments. If you're going to make any adjustments to highlight a player, think about it, be convinced about it before you could advocate.
Very well said. So I think coaches today can learn a lot about their players and from their players. See, what
More
about vulnerability? The art of showing your weak side to your players, doesn't it make you strong? Yeah, vulnerability is such an important skill. Accepting that you don't know certain things, accepting that you need help, asking for help at times, asking for opinions, valuing other people's opinions, various facets to vulnerability. Many coaches are simply not open to being vulnerable with their team, and that probably will not help them in any way building trust, rapport. They are always right. They cannot take another opinion. See, how important do you think is it is for a coach to be vulnerable with their players?
I second what you said, Doc. Being vulnerable is a show of act of courage. Like when you are vulnerable, you don't have an ego, and that is exactly what we are discussing about. When you show your vulnerability, it goes to show that you don't have an ego. You are willing to put out in public your weaker side, which is to me a great show of courage. I'll tell you one thing, Doc. In Arun sir is there, and I'm sure he would agree with me. In the 7 years and 320 odd matches I was with the Indian team, I did not upgrade. I learned more about coaching after I left the Indian team. Obviously, I had more time, and thanks to obviously after coaching beyond was Christian. Uh, like there was more time to read, upgrade, talk, listen to the latest researches, podcasts, internet courses. I feel I've upgraded myself a lot more than I did in the 7 years I spent with the Indian team, because obviously that was a stage where we had to perform every day. We were under pressure, preparing for the next match all the time. So I could easily say that, well, I didn't have time. I had to think only about the team. But to be honest, to be true, I didn't make an effort to upgrade. I was too caught up in all the good things that came along with the post, and along with what we were doing. I failed to upgrade myself while I was there. I didn't have any meaningful conversations except for some good conversations with some ex players and ex coaches where I was traveling. I didn't really upgrade. So that is something which I feel I could have done better while I was there with the Indian team for the last for 7 years. I felt I'm far better now in the last 18 months because I had a lot of opportunities and I made an effort to upgrade myself. So I think being vulnerable is one such trait where you let go of your coaching ego and showing your weaker side to your fellow coaches and to your athletes, and that solves many problems, and that helps you upgrade. And so when we are performing, when you are in the mode of performance, we sometimes don't feel the need to upgrade. So that is what happened, I guess, in those 7 years from 2014 to 2020.
I think, Sri, in this answer, you've probably displayed those two qualities that we are talking about: intellectual humility and vulnerability. Your answer itself displayed that you have learned these two qualities. the outstanding job that you did with the Indian team as a fielding coach is reflected today, and you still felt that you could have done better. It's a big thing, it's an act of courage to say that I'm lost. Please help me find the way. Fantastic. Sri, there's a doubt amongst quite a few of our participants which says that if you tend to be very athlete centered, give them a lot of freedom, you may lose the discipline in your team. Uh, does it really happen like that? And I mean, these coaches, these participants have asked that if you do lose the discipline, would you use some punitive action against them, punish them by making them run some laps, or impose some fines on them? Do you think such things actually work?
Doc, firstly, fitness should never be a soft word for punishment. Okay, so I, as a coach, would always advocate never give running or push-ups or whatever those fitness exercises as punishment, because then players and athletes will start looking at fitness in a very negative way. Fitness is a force skill. Again, now coming back to your question, it's a fantastic question. I've faced these challenges when I was coaching at the under 19 level from administrators. Every administrator thought uh, I was too easy on players. I know I've had instances where association secretaries have barged into my change room and said that you're too easy with the boys, you're too friendly, you have to scold them, you have to make them run, you have to conduct meetings for 2 hours. That is what gives success. Well, in my opinion, or my philosophy is slightly different. Uh, our philosophy at Coaching Beyond is empowering players. So, what I've learned from Arun sir while interning under him throughout my career as a coach is the more rules you have, the more they will be broken. I think every opportunity or every mistake an athlete makes is an opportunity for us to evolve as a coach, and for us to evolve as a human being, and for us to teach the person a good life lesson. So have very little rules, give athletes freedom, and it's about having their trust, right? I mean, all these answers are intertwined. They all like overlap with each other. If you build good trust with the players, then you know that even if you give them enough freedom, they will not break the trust and they will not misuse the freedom. But if you keep too many rules, too many regulations, too many curfews, the players are going to eventually break the curfew and break a rule or two. So I think the environment, the climate, which we talk about again and again, what we keep or what we create as a coach, as a coaching unit, as support staff, is vital to that. Yes, every now and then, odd player would break the rule, would misuse their freedom. But again, to me, that's another opportunity to coach the person rather than coach the sport. So I always look forward to such opportunities. But obviously, my coaching, even in my last coaching assignment as director of cricket for the ILT20 team with Sharjah Warriors, basically I was fired because I was too easy with them.
Very interesting.
Doc,
Yeah.
Doc,
And yes,
I strongly feel you instill good values in your players, then you don't need to punish them at all.
absolutely. When you give freedom, it means you're handing over responsibility also. You have to, responsible behavior is a result of giving freedom, I think. Arun, the last question, how important is it for a coach to have confidence in their own philosophy, their own methods? Is there a thin line between coach confidence and coach ego? How would you make sure that the coach must have confidence but not spill over to ego?
Doc, I think that's a very, very tricky and an interesting question too. Because when we were coming up as coaches, we always had this doubt in us: Are we good enough? You heard so much about foreign coaches doing this. Are we good enough? Uh, can we match up to the standards set by the foreign coaches? All these doubts went into our mind. Even when we were with the Indian team, the question came up: Oh, yes, though our dream was to be with the Indian team as coaches, He said, having got the job, then you start wondering, do I have the capacity to, guide these top athletes to achieving their potential? All these doubts do crop up. This is when I feel, when you read a lot not only about cricket, you read a lot about different styles of coaching, you read about different coaches, and find out what exactly is your coaching philosophy first. And if you can get a lot of information about different coaching styles, different coaching abilities, and back your coaching philosophy with those abilities that you pick up, I think you would do well. I think doubts in any coach's mind are is there, but then the slowly, as you keep working, when you read about other styles, when you read about other coaches, you then begin to understand. Yes, I do have the ability to be a coach. I do have the ability to outshine people and my competitors. And slowly, confidence is something that builds up over a period of time. But to have these doubts are extremely normal for any coaches. You could do that by acquiring more and more knowledge, more about studying the other styles of different top quality coaches in the world, and then understanding what their philosophy is and relating your philosophy with them.
Absolutely, Arun. Do you think it would make sense for our young coaches to go and observe master coaches in action? That's a great way to learn, understand their philosophies, understand their styles better. And it need not be a cricket coach. You could watch a great football coach in action, a great volleyball coach in action, and learn something from them also. What do you
Definitely,
feel, Arun?
definitely, yes, Doc. Because I think you learn so much by being under a top coach. Then I think that gives you a lot of confidence, saying that, oh, what they're doing is not rocket science. It is like what normal any other human being who understands things, who understands people do. And I'd also have these qualities to excel. So that is when you work with master coaches, that you begin to gain a lot of confidence and say, I have all these qualities to sustain as a good